Hi, my name is Alan Johnson. I'm the author of Pardon My French, How a Grumpy American Fell in Love with France. Our story begins way back in the early 1970s. It was the first time that we had arrived in France. We were there for a year to learn French and then to move on to North Africa, Algeria to be specific, where we taught English as a foreign language in a little mountain Berber village. That first year in France was an eye-opener for us. There were so many things that were new, that were unique, the culture, the scent of things, the food, and of course the way of the French. I had an adventure. At the end of a school year studying French, I decided to take an acting class that was outside of Grenoble. That experience was incredible in a number of ways, and in some ways rather sensual. The book opens with that chapter. Then, a little more than 30 years later, my wife and I, my wife Nita, decided to go to France one more time, and this time for, again, a full year, to re-experience the life of living in the south of France. We chose a little village called Pérol that is bumped up right next to the Mediterranean. It's a town of about 8,000 folks, but very lively. One of the things that happens in France every September is the Association Fair. On that day, all the people from the village get together in the village square, and they are introduced to all the associations that are available to you. In Montpellier, which is nearby, there were over 1,000 booths. In Pérol, a little village of 8,000, there were, approximately 40 or 50 booths. All topics, everything from Zen to playing chess to jazz, and on and on. I joined a half a dozen clubs. My idea was this, that if I was involved with the French every day, I would certainly learn the language fully, and I would get to know the French, who they truly are. So I joined a dance class, jazz, a painting class, a hiking group. I played basketball. All of those activities brought me to an understanding of the French, their idiosyncrasies, their way of speaking, their way of driving, which is interesting, and their way of playing. One of my first experiences was playing basketball with a group of young bucks. Now, I was raised on basketball, and I could make a jump shot in my day. And so I thought I would teach these kids a thing or two. Well, I learned that the French know how to play basketball. And I was running the court with young 20-year-olds. My energy in a puddle at my shoelaces. That was a fun chapter to write. I talk about dancing. The dance class was an amazing way to make friends, and my dance partner was just wonderful. She was a young woman who was full of energy and so kind, and when she and I learned to dance the tango, where a man has to be like a god, well, we laughed a lot. Hiking was also a wonderful experience for us. We hiked the Cevennes up and down hills and into small villages, and and saw a number of dolmens, those prehistoric funeral sites. All of that was so wonderful, and it gave me a chance to speak one-on-one with, well, over sometimes 30 hikers at a time. Sometimes the hikes were very casual, like a stroll down the beach. Other times they were 10 kilometers and maybe 2,000 feet of elevation with a little bit of scrambling. Whatever the situation, it was a wonderful time to get to know the French. An experience that I will never forget was playing jazz. I have been a jazz pianist and trumpet player and singer for a good number of years, and a dream of mine was to play with a top-notch group in France, and I had the opportunity to do that. In fact, it was a world-class combo, and we made music to, there must have been maybe 400 people in the club that particular night. An exciting time, and one that I will never forget. At the end of a year in France, we decided that it was time to go home, back to the States. We live in the Pacific Northwest. And we were looking forward to getting back home and seeing old friends. But we also felt differently. In some ways, I didn't quite feel like an American anymore. Oh, sure, I loved America, and I have so many friends and so many fond memories of the United States, but in some ways, I was different. I didn't exactly know what it was. But then I discovered that what I had become was not a citizen of France or even a citizen of the United States, but a citizen of the world. That's what being in France was for me, to learn what it meant to become a citizen of the world, where all people are valued, and regardless of the culture, regardless of the language, there's no greater joy to make friends in another country. I hope you will enjoy Pardon My French as much as I enjoyed writing it.